Do you want to fly long haul in comfort without breaking the bank? Well, you can, but there's a catch, and it's not what you think.
Saudi Airlines skips the booze and asks for a more modest dress code. In return, you get top-notch service and one of the best deals in the sky. So the question is, would you give up a drink for this view? Just to expand on the intro, when it comes to religion, Saudi is more strict, so don't expect to find any alcohol on board. Despite the occasional deal, if you mention online, you'll get a sea of quite honest travellers who would avoid the airline for this reason. I even heard a rumour that a man was denied boarding because he was wearing shorts, and he was forced to either not take the flight or buy new jeans at his cost. The airline does state that the dress code is modest, and the decision is decided locally, but just be warned. Knowing these facts, I am in fact wearing jeans. I would strongly advise against shorts because if you ever have an evacuation in an emergency, then the friction from the slides is at least going to cause first degree burns. Boarding pass in hand, I'm heading towards the F, G and H gates in search of the KLM Crown Lounge, which is Saudia's partner lounge for business class passengers or those with certain status. Be sure to check out the very cute porcelain houses representing local Dutch houses as you ascend the escalator.
So I'm here at the Sky Observation Deck at the KLM Lounge because I'm here at the KLM Crown Lounge at the Observation Deck, which is pretty cool for watching planes. Saudia and KLM are part of the same Sky team, and so as a result you can use their main lounge, which is pretty cool.
Besides being a little cold and ignoring the odd idea to build a service corridor right in front of the lounge, terrible idea, it's a good place to watch planes unless you happen to have time to visit Panorama, which is landside just above the check-in desks for KLM. If you enjoy a bit of spotting, be sure to check it out, and you can even have a little tour inside one of KLM's vintage Fokker aircraft. Which you might have noticed is on the roof. If it's too cold, then there's plenty of different seating options inside the lounge, but it's pretty busy, so I was pretty lucky to get one of the more private, comfy seats at the far end.
So I think it's a really good lounge. Some people say the food's not great, and it was very busy, but it's got nice different levels, seating and the observation deck. Anyway, it's time to go to the flight now. Let's have a look at today's journey details.
I must admit that I'm pretty excited to try a new airline, and the points will go nicely towards my Sky Team status. But I've been a little mindful about how the crew reacts with me taking photos and video for the review. I know one other YouTuber that had a not so good experience, but maybe that was just down to bad luck. With that in mind, here's today's journey map. Sierra Victor 216 departs Amsterdam at 15:55, 4 times a week, taking just under 6 hours and covering a distance of 2,804 miles. I then had a connecting flight onwards to Jakarta on Saudia's Boeing 777-300, which is in a not so good 222 layout. Even so, the experience was good, if not a little inconsistent, and I was hoping to review this, but then I came down with a really heavy cold, and I decided I needed to rest.
So I'm just waiting for the gate before boarding. Group 1 would have been nice and early to get a nice photo of the cabin. But it's interesting because it's during Ramadan, so I'll be interested to see whether the service is a bit different and whether when I get there, I can easily get food.
This actually didn't make much of a difference, but I'll cover what that changes later in the video. In the meantime, here's today's flight in Saudia's standard livery. I was really hoping to see one of their retro livery planes, but it just wasn't meant to be. Today's flight is operated by the Boeing 787-10 variant, which is much like the smaller 9 version, both with 6 rows of business class seats in a 1-to-1 layout. There's not much to note, except I strongly recommend against the window seats in row 6 on the 9 version, because well, the smell from the toilet at times was overpowering. Let's say no more. And on the 10 variant that we're flying today, there's an extra 4 rows of economy just behind the business class section.
So welcome aboard, this is the Collins Aerospace seat. There's 24 in total, 21 inches of width, 46 inches of pitch, and it is really popular. So I'm really impressed by the experience. It's such a nice seat. Cabin crew are really warm welcoming. I'm just waiting for the welcome drink.
Having got lucky with a mix of Indonesian and Filipino cabin crew, they're wonderfully smiley and welcoming, and more than happy for me to take photos. On first impressions, the seat looks nicely finished, with the only negative being the choice seat cover, which makes it look just a little dated. The strong pillow distracts from this nicely, bringing a touch of colour. The side table is one large storage area, which is often where most airlines place the plug sockets and the in-flight entertainment controller, but not on Saudia. Just below the storage compartment are the seat controls. I've not seen this layout before, but it looks pretty nice. Easy to use, very intuitive, with the graphic reflecting the seat. And then just above this is the in-flight entertainment controller and various ports. When it comes to privacy, doors on seats are becoming even more popular. And to be honest, I thought they were a bit of a fad given how short the walls are. That wasn't until a recent experience on British Airways where the person in 1 Alpha fell asleep, and their screen was on full brightness for the majority of the flight. Despite an eye mask, the light made it extremely challenging to sleep. Luckily on Saudia, despite the lack of doors, the seats are still very private. This is partly due to the elongated lip at the top, but also because they're staggered, which prevents this issue even if I was still woken up during the flight, for a very different reason, which I'll get to later.
So you do get a choice of welcome drink. I've gone for the banana and strawberry, which is absolutely delicious. You just go for the signature drink, which is the Middle Eastern lemon mint.
The blanket or duvet is green one side and blue the other. I was really impressed with the size and it was really warm. And the coloured pillow I mentioned earlier I could easily take home, with a bottle of water already waiting at the seat. But there were 2 wonderful surprises.
As headphones go, I'm really excited to try these. This is one of the nicest boxes or containers I've ever seen.
Besides being a really beautiful green, the shape and design were really pleasing to the eye, and they also sat really nicely on my ears for the duration of the flight. The highlight for me has to be the amenity kit, which features their brand new vivid livery that is based on the carrier's old livery. Personally, while some might find it a bit tacky, I think it makes a welcome change from the single, often dark coloured amenity kits that you typically find on most airlines. It's well stocked with products from a brand based in Oslo, Norway, and I was quite taken aback by the matching socks. Do you love it, or do you think it sort of fails to impress? Let us know in the comments below. In addition, I've been handed a copy of today's menu, which is order when you like, and the onboard chef, what a nice surprise, has offered both dates and a cup of traditional Middle Eastern tea. So far so good, but I just need to point out that out of the 4 flights I took, this was the best one, with the last one being pretty inconsistent. Otherwise, someone who knows nothing about planes might have mistaken the experience for Qatar. The Boeing 787 is fairly unique in that the windows do not have plastic window blinds, and instead they can be polarised to reduce the intensity of the sun. Slightly to my annoyance, just after takeoff, because I wanted good light for the meal service, they lowered the level 3 levels down, and the cabin was so much darker. The person though, however, was at least nice enough to come over and make it clear that if I found it too dark, he had no issue whatsoever with me raising them again, which I thought was pretty nice. The menu style and service is incredibly similar to Qatar, and even with the inconsistencies with the other flight, I was still really impressed with how quickly the food was delivered, and how attentive the cabin crew were. You can even choose between the lunch menu or the a la carte, and the level of spice was fairly low and really enjoyable. Regardless of what you order, a decorative bowl of warm nuts was delivered, and with no alcohol available on board, the forest berry and grapes sounded like a tasty alternative. I'd love to know, for those who avoid flying Saudi at all costs, do you feel cheated because non-alcoholic drinks cost less, or because say a glass of wine with a meal just elevates the experience? Choosing from the lunch menu, this looks really good. It's Saudia's Cuisine Banquet, which sounded really delicious. On today's flight, it comes with a mixed feta salad and some of the best hummus I've ever had, with a small basket of different pita breads, as well as an olive oil dressing for the salad, and the salt and pepper shakers are tastefully designed. And yes, I know you're thinking it, I did not steal them. This also comes with a portion of lamb kibbeh, which was really delicious, and the traditional chicken mandi, which is a time-honoured dish with baked spiced chicken, folded into rice. I am a big fan of Middle Eastern dishes, but this one was by far 5-star. So many different flavours, and it felt filling without leaving you bloated, which left just enough space for a Dutch stroopwafel inspired cheesecake. No complaints whatsoever. Three drinks later, and it was toilet o'clock, which on the Boeing 787-10, there are 2 at the rear of economy. And there are also 2 at the front, but with the food being prepared and the busy galley at the front, I would advise using the rear too. They're spacious, modern, and the blue lighting of course. It's less daunting on the eyes, and there were some branded products as well. Saudi's in-flight entertainment screen is 17 inches and Full HD, and it shows because the display is very crisp, and I really like the green which matches their branding. I was also impressed with the amount of options that were available, and despite what I heard online, I didn't see any clips cut from movies that were deemed inappropriate. Then again, I watched the brand new Beetlejuice film, which did not disappoint, with brilliant comedy acting from the mother of Home Alone 2, Catherine O'Hara.
Not here. Kevin's not here.
What?
Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, Jenna Ortega, and so many more. Unfortunately, when it comes to TV shows, I wasn't so impressed, and there's definite room for improvement. It's fairly weak on the TV side of content, and to be honest, I didn't bother because the movie selection was just so strong. They do partner with Paramount and HBO Max, but to be honest, there wasn't much content in there. Approaching nighttime, and with the meal service out the way, I feared the cabin crew would probably drop the lights pretty quickly. I managed to get a quick video of the seat in the full flat mode, and I have to say I found it extremely comfortable and even to manage to get a very short sleep. Unfortunately then to be woken up by the lights on full, which is allowed to those who are fasting until sunset to now eat. In honesty, this didn't bother me too much because the ideal flight to sleep on would be the next one over to Jakarta, a mistake I previously made with Singapore Airlines when I slept from Delhi to Singapore, only to be wide awake for 13 hours all the way to London. I took the opportunity to freshen up a bit as it's so easy to neglect your teeth while flying, and then decided 30 minutes later that I quite fancied the cheese plate, with a cup of chai tea. With 30 minutes to go, the cabin lights were set to mimic a sort of night sky with a beautiful purple hue, and I discovered the TV show Dinner with the Parents, which seems oddly familiar to a UK show called Friday Night Dinner, if you know you know. This was interrupted by an armada of various videos to do with immigration and navigating Jeddah Airport, before the city lights could be seen out the window as we begin to land.
So I'm just going to conclude today's flight. I actually thought at some points they were basically as good as Qatar, if not nearly.
This was until the third journey, where the purser made absolutely no introduction and I never spoke to him once. On the fourth flight, the cabin crew just seemed generally exhausted, which led to a bare minimum interaction. The food was also undeniably good, although for some reason the return journey from Jeddah to Amsterdam had no menus, and the system for some reason didn't even know we were going to Amsterdam. There's no denying that their product on the Boeing 777 definitely needs an update, to bring it up to the current standards which passengers expect. And the airport at Jeddah, while brand new, is still heavily under construction as of March 2025, with the lounge being impressive with some nice features, but doesn't feel large enough given the ambitions of Saudia to expand operations, with only 2 showers available and not enough areas to rest or sleep. In honesty, did I enjoy myself? Yes, with the note that Saudia Airlines is a work in progress, with my final words being,
But if you need alcohol, then it's not really for you. But the alternatives are really good if you can go without. Thank you for watching. See you next travel.